free to be whoever you want to be. Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to what I believe is, and I need to correct this on YouTube, it's actually episode 6. I'd put episode 5 in the title. I'm live on YouTube doing this live stream right now, but this podcast, obviously, the Two Tone Talk podcast, episode 6, it is available on Spotify, Apple, or SoundCloud, and also, of course, on YouTube at Two Tone Talk podcast. And I'm actually live streaming this. It's a very new channel, and it's right in the middle of the day, so who knows if anybody's going to join me. But it is the Two Tone Talk podcast, talking about the Tennessee Titans and the NFL and football in general. And we've got Week 14 action that has already begun with the Baker Mayfield show last night. With the Rams-Raiders game, which we can talk about that here in a little bit. But we have to talk about what I still believe is the leading story for us Tennessee Titans fans, and that is the firing of the general manager, John Robinson. I did a live stream on YouTube right after the news broke, like within 10 minutes of the news breaking. I did a live stream on YouTube, and it was pretty much all just very reactionary, to be honest with you. It was very like spur of the moment. Here it is. Here's what's going on. And we were all shocked. But now that we have had a few days to kind of decompress from that news, and obviously Mike Vrabel has done some press conferences, and Amy Adams Strunk made a statement, which we read that day. You know, we have all had time to kind of think about what happened here, and it is still shocking. It's unusual because you never expect for a general manager to get fired when a team is so far ahead in their division and they're going to make the playoffs, and they haven't. You know, I think their last 6 seasons have been winning seasons. They're about to win the division for the 3rd time in a row. And yet the GM just got fired in the middle of the season. I mean, usually if a GM's going to get fired in the middle of a season, it's like the team's terrible. They have 1 win, 2 wins. Very unusual situation for Tennessee, because what if they make a run now? What if they make a run in the playoffs? What are they going to rehire the guy? Because I mean, you know, who knows what happens? But John Robinson fired, and I thought it was interesting. Mike Vrabel's press conference on Wednesday, where he had to answer a lot of questions. He had to field a lot of questions about John Robinson and the firing that happened. And I thought it was kind of unfair to him to have to be put in that situation. I felt like Amy Adams Strunk should have been there. I feel like she should have been fielding the questions. This was her decision. This was her, deal. She fired John Robinson, and I just feel like it was her place to be there answering those questions. I didn't feel like it was fair to Mike Vrabel in the middle of the season when he's getting ready for what I believe is a must-win game for the Titans on Sunday, and we'll talk plenty about that game here in a second, but I believe this Sunday's a must-win, and you're going to make him go out there and answer a bunch of questions that he's really not qualified to answer. I didn't feel like that was right. I feel like Amy Adams Strunk should have been there to answer those questions, and Vrabel could have just made his statement about John and then talked about the game and moved on, but instead he's having to stand up there, and Vrabel seemed miserable up there answering those questions. But who knows? Vrabel plays his cards very close to the vest. Okay? And I said this on the live stream that I did right after the news broke. He's not going to give you very much to work with. Okay? He's not going to really tell you. I mean, the Titans have a sign in their locker room that says, what goes on here stays here. I mean, Vrabel is all about you know, behind the scenes stuff stays behind the scenes. So I knew he wasn't going to say much, but if you want to take what he said and go with it, he definitely made it seem like this was not something that he was campaigning for. This was not something that he, pushed for. But there was one thing that he said that really, it was just a simple little moment in his press conference Wednesday that stuck out to me. Somebody said, one of the reporters asked him, are you, something along the lines of, are you satisfied with the roster? Did you feel like your input on what was needed on this roster was heard and, put into account? And he just started skating around it. He was like, well, I always try to do what we got to do to beat the Jags, and just started giving this generic coach answer. And I was like, you know what? I feel like he would have just said yes if he felt like he was actually having his input put into place to get the roster that he needed to go out and regularly win games. I feel like Vrabel liked John Robinson. I feel like he had the same love, I'm not going to say love-hate, but love-frustration relationship with John Robinson that the fans did. And while Vrabel may not have been as like it's me or him as we may have thought in the early going, I think Vrabel probably really understands the decision and gets it. And, Vrabel's got a lot of pull in that organization, as he should. He's been great at his job. He's reigning coach of the year. And he continues to try to make chicken stew out of chicken you-know-what. And I think that, he should have the right to be very involved in discussions about who the new GM is going to be when the offseason gets here. And I think that, he should be more involved in building the roster. If what we've heard is true from Adam Schefter, and as far as the A.J. Brown trade, if John Robinson just kind of went rogue on that trade, because Amy Adams Strunk, they've kind of insinuated there were some discussions that she wished she would have been involved in, which I don't know if I'm totally buying, because Amy Adams Strunk was in the room when A.J. Brown was traded. She was sitting right there laughing, shaking hands with John. So I don't know if there may be a little bit of scapegoat type stuff going on, or if she gave him that ultimatum at the time, hey, if this doesn't work out, it's going to be on you. I don't know. But if John Robinson we know Mike Vrabel didn't want to trade A.J. Brown. That's a fact. So, if he was making decisions like that and, kind of defying Vrabel in that way, then I would say absolutely. There's got to be a big part of Vrabel that deep down would never admit it, but he was probably like, hey, I get it. I get why you would let this guy go. And I will say this, and then I'll get away from the John Robinson thing because it's been a few days and we all know. John Robinson had some huge draft misses. Caleb Farley, Isaiah Wilson, drafting Dez Fitzpatrick over Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit, who's done great. A lot of draft misses, some free agency misses. Bringing Julio in, he was washed. Vic Beasley, Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, a lot of misses in trades and free agency in the draft. But even with all those misses, that I believe you could chalk those up to bad luck or fate or just, aw shucks, it didn't work out. But that A.J. Brown trade, I think, just made everything look worse. I think the A.J. Brown trade made everything just... It heightened everything. It made everything... It's like when you type something in on Microsoft Word and it's just words on a page and then you click the bold button and everything gets bigger. That's what happened when he made that decision to trade A.J. Brown. Everything looked worse. And then A.J. Brown going off on the Titans like he did Sunday, I absolutely think that played a role. I think it was the final straw. And so now the Titans have an interim GM for the rest of the season, and we have to look ahead because it's a unique situation. Like I said, the Titans are 7-5. They're comfortably ahead in their division. They're going to be in the playoffs. And what do you do if you're the Titans? Because you now have no GM. You're going in a new direction this offseason, but you're still in a position to do something this season, and you've got to keep pressing forward. That's a very unique position to be in. And now the Jacksonville Jaguars are coming to town. Titans have not played the Jaguars yet this season. And the Jaguars, they're coming off of a 40-14 loss to the Detroit Lions. And they are 4-8. But, in the NFL, so many times you see teams that maybe don't have the best record, but you look at their games that they've played, and, they've been in a lot of games. I mean, first of all, they beat the Ravens just a couple weeks ago. Okay, so that tells you they can beat a good team. They beat the Ravens, lost by 10 to the Chiefs, lost by a touchdown to the Raiders, lost by 4 to the Broncos, lost by 6 to the Giants, lost by 1 touchdown to the Colts. They did lose to the Texans, and that's pathetic. I will say that. They're the only team so far this year to lose to Houston, and that's horrible. But this team is capable, and I don't know what the deal is with Trevor Lawrence. He's dealing with an injury, hasn't practiced this week. I feel like you have to prepare for it as though he's going to play. And I feel like he will. But, the Jags cannot be overlooked. They're coming in with nothing to lose. And they would love nothing more than to play spoiler for the Titans. And I said this on the podcast earlier this week. If the Titans lose to the Jaguars, you need to find the nearest panic button and start smashing the dang thing, because it's one thing. You've proven you have trouble beating the really good teams like the Titans have. But now if you go in and you lose to the Jags at home, fall to 7-6, now you've lost 3 in a row. Now we're starting to really, and you fired your GM. Now we're really starting to look at, okay, what's going on here? And I'm telling you, Titans might have a tough time, because I don't know if you've looked at the injury report this week for Tennessee. It's very long, and it's a lot of key players on there. On offense, you're looking at Treylon Burks, still in concussion protocol. I would be stunned if Treylon Burks is able to play in this game. I can't imagine being in concussion protocol and how seriously they take that now, and rightfully so. Can't imagine that Burks is going to be able to go Sunday. C.J. Board, he's the punt returner and one of the only active wide receivers on the roster right now. He's been on injury report all week. He hadn't practiced. Okay. So currently, the Tennessee Titans have 2 active wide receivers on the roster, Robert Woods and Nick Westbrook-Ikine. Because Kyle Phillips on IR. Now, Racey McMath, we got to talk about Racey McMath. He was designated to come back this week. He's been practicing all week. I don't know if you're going to feel good about clearing Racey to go out there in this game. The guy has not played football. Well, he hadn't played any meaningful football because he hadn't played in a regular season. He hasn't been active on a field since August. So I don't know how you feel about this guy getting in there and having to play a big role in the passing game after 1 week of practice and not doing nothing since August. I don't know how you feel about that. And even if he can get in there, let's not act like the guy's ever, been in a position to actively contribute to the team, and now he would be in a position where he has to because there's nobody else. So the Racey McMath thing, color me skeptical if I don't want to have to rely on a guy who's barely played at all and hasn't practiced since August to come in and save the day on Sunday. But he's not even like designated to return yet. I mean, he's designated to return, but he's not like he's going to play Sunday. They haven't said that. He's just practicing with the team, and I think that's really all they want him to do right now, probably. Kyle Phillips remains on injured reserve. What's wrong with him? Treylon Burks is in concussion protocol. Cody Hollister, he's on IR. C.J. Board hadn't practiced all week, and even if he has, he's a punt returner. So literally, you're looking at Robert Woods and Nick Westbrook-Ikine right now, and looking like somebody's going to have to be called up from the practice squad for this game. Who's that going to be? Dez Fitzpatrick one of the great John Robinson draft picks, one of the biggest blunders of his draft problems right there. Are we going to call him in and have him play wide receiver in his game? Are we going to, who else is even on the practice squad? I don't even know. I don't even know who's on the practice squad. But either way, it's looking like you're going to have another game with practice squad receivers out there trying to make something happen. Obviously, there has to be designations made today. So we'll know here in a little while whether Traylon is officially ruled out, and he will be, and some of those other guys. But defensively, Jeffrey Simmons hadn't practiced all week, and I hate to say it, but I don't think Jeffrey Simmons should play in this game. He's clearly not 100%. He's about 50 to 60%, and he has not been the big Jeff that we've known him to be for the last couple of games, and I think he needs to sit. I don't think he needs to play. I think you need to give this guy time to get well. Danico Autry, who was injured in the Packers game, hadn't played since. He has still not practiced this week, so he's not going to play. So no Autry or Simmons. David Long has not practiced all week, so I would imagine he's not going to play. And Christian Fulton has not practiced all week. You talk about four of the big-time players this defense has. Simmons, Autry, Fulton, and Long. And it's looking like none of them are going to be playing Sunday against the Jaguars. And you'll have to forgive me, but I'm a little worried about that. We're having trouble getting to the passer anyway. And so now there's going to be no Big Jeff. There's going to be no Autry. We already have issues with linebacker depth, so you're taking David Long out. Our secondary is already fighting for their lives, and Christian Fulton's probably not going to be there. So yeah, I'm very concerned about Sunday. I'm very concerned about these injuries, and we'll have to see. Derrick Henry is going to have a massive day, and he tends to do that against the Jaguars, but they're going to need him to return to his correct form this Sunday, because if he don't, we're going to have trouble even getting a first down. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And so the Titans, Jaguars, of course I'm going to pick the Titans to win the game, but I'm worried. I'm worried. These injuries at these key positions and these key guys that probably aren't going to play, I'm a little concerned. Now, here's why it's a must-win for the Titans. Because I think, and this will tell you how bad of a division the AFC South is. Should the Titans win this game, they are, I think, one win away from clinching their division. Okay? And looking at the schedule today, if they could be in a position, because they play the Jags again in the last week of the season, if they could be in a position to potentially rest some starters for that game, that's really your only hope and prayer going into the playoffs, is that you can just let everybody sit and get healthy for a week. But we got a long way to go before we get to that point. But anyway, this is a big game because the Titans, with a win here, they're either one win or one Colts loss away from clinching the AFC South and getting that behind them. So, and it's a must-win because you're on a 2-game losing streak and nobody feels good about this team right now. And I'm not saying people are going to feel great about it if you go in there and beat Jacksonville, but at least it'll give people something to rejoice about. You can't you can't lose to Jacksonville. I know it's not fun with all these guys hurt, but you can't lose to Jacksonville. You have got to find a way to beat Jacksonville. I mean, come on now. Now, Sunday. Let's talk about some of the other games. Well, last night the Rams beat the Raiders. The Raiders were trying to cling to some type of hope that they could make the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure that's dead now. I thought the Raiders were finally starting to look like the team I thought they were going to be, but never mind. They lose, and they're done. The Raiders, that'll seal the deal for their season. As far as the Rams, man, Baker Mayfield, good for him. I mean, he's had a tough go, getting kicked out of Cleveland, and then things didn't work out with him in Carolina, and people are just kind of soured on him. He comes into the Rams team. He's been there for 2 days, and that a 98-yard drive to go down and beat the Raiders at the end. Good Lord. Unacceptable if you're the Raiders, but good for Baker Mayfield. And, who knows? Who knows what could happen with him? I think, going into next season, it'll depend on what Stafford wants to do. I have a feeling Stafford will be back. Can't imagine that they'll start Baker over Matt Stafford. But if Stafford continues to nosedive like he has this year, whether it be due to injuries or whatever, you've got Baker there who could come in and take the job. Let's look ahead to Sunday. Jets, Bills. Now, this is a big game. Playoff implications here. The Bills leading that division. The Jets right in the thick of the wild card race in the AFC. It's in Buffalo. The Bills are a 10-point favorite. The Jets beat the Bills before, and I can't imagine the Jets beating the Bills twice. The Bills kind of hit a little bit of a slump there in the middle of the season, but they're starting to get things back together. So I'm absolutely taking the Bills over the Jets. And the Jets, if the Chargers or Patriots get a win on Sunday, that could spell bad news for the Jets because a loss here drops them to 7-6. They're fighting for their lives in that wild card race. So this is a big game for them and the Bills, but I think the Bills get the win here. Like I said, it's in Buffalo. Bills already lost to the Jets once this year. They ain't losing to them again. Browns, Bengals in Cincinnati. Gotta go Bengals here. The Browns, they're struggling to find their way. They've got Deshaun Watson now, but who cares? He looks like a guy who hadn't played football in 2.5 years, and he's trying to get his feet wet and try to get back in there. And good luck having to go against this Bengals team in your second start in 2 years. Give me the Bengals over the Browns by at least a couple of scores. Texans, Cowboys, this one could get ugly mighty quick. Give me the Cowboys over the Texans emphatically. I'm talking about the Cowboys already hung 50 on the Colts last week. They may do it again on the Texans this week. This is going to be ugly. Vikings-Lions. Can somebody explain to me how the Lions are a 2-point favorite over the Vikings? Now, I think the Lions are a good team. But the Vikings are 10-2. Can we put a little bit of respect on the Vikings' name? I'm going with the Vikings to win this game. They're seeing this. The disrespect, bro. The disrespect of having the Lions, who are 5-7, as a favorite over the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings, who pretty much clinched their division a month ago. Are you joking? Somebody will have to explain it to me. But I'm going with the Vikings. Are you kidding me? I know the game's in Detroit. Who cares? I'm going with the Vikings in this game. Come on. What? What are you talking about? Okay, Jags, Titans, already talked about that game. Eagles, Giants, here's an interesting one. Giants are fighting for their lives. I feel like they're going to be, this is probably going to feel like a playoff game for the Giants because they're fighting for their lives right now. Okay, they're 7-4-1 in an NFC playoff race where you've got Washington, Seattle, Dallas is a wild card team. So you've kind of got 4 teams going for 3 spots. Cowboys, Commanders, Giants, and Seahawks. Somebody's not going to make the cut. And the Giants are, they ended up tying with Washington last week, which I thought they were going to lose. They ended up tying. But they're in danger, I think. Against the Eagles, Eagles are looking really good. Don't we know that, Titans fans? I'm going to have to go with the Eagles to win this game. I just think the Eagles are rolling. They look so good. I think the Giants will hang in there. It's in New York. They know what's at stake. I think the Giants will hang in there, but I got to go with the Eagles at the end of the day. I can't believe that the Giants are going to beat the Eagles. So give me Philly. Philly's a 7-point favorite on the road, and that'll put them at 12-1. And the Eagles, they're going to be mighty tough to beat in the NFC. Ravens and Steelers in Pittsburgh. Steelers are on a little bit of a roll. They've got 2 wins in a row over the Colts and then the I don't remember who they beat the other day. The Steelers beat somebody the other day. The Falcons. But the Ravens, I don't know what the deal is with Lamar Jackson. I don't know. I think he's out for this game, right? I think Lamar Jackson's probably not playing. So this is gonna be tough, man. In Pittsburgh, the Ravens just barely got by the Broncos last week. This is gonna be tough. The Steelers are kind of rolling a little bit, and honestly, if the Steelers win, you get to 6-7. I mean, the Steelers are theoretically not totally dead. I mean, they're right there, and they're a game back in that wild card race. So this is actually a big win for Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. I'm going with the upset. Well, I don't know if it'd be an upset because the Steelers are a 2-point favorite. I'm going with the Steelers. I think the Ravens without Lamar Jackson, I think that's going to be tough. Going in there against a team who's kind of getting rolling. Kenny Pickett starting to do some things. Mike Tomlin, we know he's a great coach. I'm going to have to go with the Steelers in this game. I think the loss of Lamar Jackson, I just think that's too much for them to overcome. And if things go this way and the Bengals beat the Browns and the Steelers beat the Ravens, the Bengals are really going to take a hold, I think, of this division. Chiefs, Broncos, give me a break. The Chiefs over the Broncos all day long. The Chiefs are a 9.5-point favorite in this game. But, yeah, Chiefs over the Broncos. Broncos, it's going to be an interesting offseason for them. I don't know where you go with this whole Russell Wilson thing, but, man, it has been a total failure. Bucks, 49ers. This, to me, here's where you're going to find out if the Bucks are actually for real at all. This is where you're going to find out because the game's in San Francisco. Now, I know the 49ers are in a tough position with their quarterback. They're going to have a rookie, but still, their defense is legit. They got great weapons all over the field. If the Bucks can find a way to win this game, then I'll be like, all right, okay. Maybe they could make some noise in January. I just don't think they're going to. I think even with the rookie quarterback, I'm going with the 49ers to win this game. The 49ers are on a roll. Again, they're at home. I think they're going to rally behind the young quarterback. I don't know how long it'll be able to last, but I think it'll be enough to get them through this game. And I think the 49ers defense, as good as they are, I think they're going to give Tom Brady a lot of trouble. So give me the 49ers over the Bucks. And yeah, that's a game that'll have a playoff type atmosphere. That's a game that will have a playoff type atmosphere. Panthers, Seahawks. Seattle has to win this game. They're kind of getting things back on track. Got to 7-5, beat a Rams team last week that they should have beaten, and now here's another game that you have to win. If you're going to make the playoffs, I think the Seahawks need to win this one. Panthers are no good. Seahawks, it's in Seattle. I think the Seahawks win this game. They should win. It's one of those things where the Seahawks are still, they're a surprise team, but they're a team that people are always going to be looking to jump ship because, it's like the Seahawks. It's Geno Smith. When's it going to crash and burn? And I think that if you lose to the Panthers, you can see a lot of people that are like, okay, it's done. It's done. The Seahawks are done. I'm done talking about them. But I think the Seahawks win this game. In Seattle, Panthers are no good. Seahawks. Sunday night football. Dolphins, Chargers. The Chargers better find a way because this is one of those, because the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins are legit. If the Chargers can find a way to win this game, I think you could have people who could start to say, hey, could they be a team that gets hot at the right time, surprise team come January, if they can find a way to win this game? Because this would be a quality win for them. The problem is the Dolphins are coming off of a loss. They've got such a high-powered offense. They're trying to keep pace with the Bills. I got to believe that the Dolphins are going to win this football game. I just think the Chargers are coming off of a loss. to the Raiders, who just lost to a guy who had only been on the team for 2 days last night. So I think the Chargers just the Dolphins are too. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua. They're playing too well. I know they lost last week, but overall they're playing too well. Give me the Dolphins over the Chargers. The game's in LA, but the Chargers fan base, whatever fan base they have, they never show up for the games. So give me the Dolphins over the Chargers. I feel pretty confident in that. Monday Night Football. Patriots, Cardinals. The Cardinals are out of it. The Patriots are fighting for their lives. The Patriots are coming in the more desperate team. It's in Arizona. Patriots are a 1.5 point favorite. For some reason, I just feel like the Cardinals are going to win this game. I don't know why. It's just Monday Night Football. This feels like one of those Kyler Murray games where he's going to be abnormally good for him, and people are going to say it's going to be a good enough performance that they can say, hey, maybe Kyler Murray is the guy for Arizona going forward. Because that's kind of what he does. He keeps them on a hook. It's like, hey, he gives you a few bad performances, but then he gives you a great one. And you're like, oh, wait a minute now. Maybe this guy can be what we need him to be. And I think he'll have one of those on Monday Night Football Monday. Give me the Cardinals over the Patriots to really put the Patriots behind the 8 ball in terms of getting into the playoffs. Those are my picks for Week 14. The Tennessee Titans have the Jags coming to town, and the Jags would love nothing more than to continue to send the Titans further spiraling into the abyss. And they have a chance to do that, and technically, if the Jags win this game, they'll still have an outside chance of coming back and winning this division. Even if it is an outside chance, they keep hope alive if they can beat the Titans on Sunday. It's a must-win for Tennessee. They're going in beaten. They're going in battered. They're going in on a 2-game losing streak. They're going in after being absolutely decimated in Philadelphia. And Mike Vrabel had some things to say about that crossroads, what kind of team we're going to be, what kind of football are we going to play here at the end. If you're going to turn it around and prove that you're going to try and make a statement here late in the season, you can't lose to the Jaguars. You can't lose to the... I don't care who's hurt. I don't care what the situation is. You cannot lose to Jacksonville if you're trying to make a statement that you're going to... At the crossroads and you're going to take the road that leads to winning and being good, you got to beat Jacksonville. You got to beat Jacksonville. I don't care who's hurt. You got to beat Jacksonville. So we'll see. I'll be back Monday with episode 7 of the Two Tone Talk podcast. And let me just tell you, it could be a really, I'm not going to say a really happy one because I'm not going to be too thrilled if they beat the Jaguars. But if they lose, I'm going to be some kind of upset. Some kind of upset if they can't beat Jacksonville. Please beat Jacksonville. Please. Please beat Jacksonville. Thank you guys for joining me on the Two Tone Talk podcast. It's available on Spotify. It's available on Apple. It's available on SoundCloud. And it's available on YouTube. You can watch along or you can just listen if you're listening on Spotify or something like that. Trying to get this podcast and channel off the ground. So help me out if you enjoy it out there. And follow me on Twitter at Two Tone Talk over on Twitter. I'm over there tweeting about the Titans all the time. And it's a good time. Thank you guys for joining me. And tighten up. We will see you next time. Bye.
Feels like it's picking on me, but trying to please